and he jumped over this fence and was never seen again. Lars' mother, Sandra, actually reported Lars missing in Germany, and this is when also German police got involved, and they did not take this case very lightly, because they knew that something must be going on. We have a German man missing in a foreign country, where he's never been to before probably, where he does not speak the official language, and where he does not know anyone, and he just runs out of the doctor's practice. He's also injured, he has a ruptured eardrum, and he's running out of this doctor's practice, jumps over a fence and disappears into thin air seemingly. Of course, police took this serious. Hello and welcome back to another true crime video. My name is Mara and welcome to my channel Mara Cuja. In case you haven't done so already, please make sure to like, share and especially subscribe to my channel for more future content like this. Lars Mittank was born in Warna, which is at the north of Germany, close to Hamburg, and yeah, he lived in Wilhelmshaven because he also worked there. They arrived in Warna in Bulgaria on June 30th, 2014. The first couple of days went on quite unspectacular. We don't know exactly how much Lars was drinking during all of this time, but we know that he went to quite a few parties with his friends. So I think that it's more than likely that he also consumed at least a bit of alcohol, but we don't know how much alcohol Lars was actually consuming during his stay in Bulgaria. But since it's known for wild parties, it would be very unusual if Lars would have decided to not drink at all. But well, we don't know exactly, we don't know for sure. Lars decided to eat only stuff like fruits and soups and also some vegetables, but he did not enjoy the full spectrum of the buffet. They had an all-inclusive, they were staying at an all-inclusive resort, so they could have eaten whatever they wanted, it was all paid for. But Lars only decided to eat very healthy stuff, and yeah, one reason might be maybe because it was hot. It was Bulgaria, it was Warna in Bulgaria in summer, so of course it was very hot, and that may be the reason why Lars decided not to eat too much and only to have lighter snacks like fruits and vegetables. But his friends thought of these to be a little bit suspicious because they themselves, they were quite hungry since they went out partying all day long, and they also, well, of course, went to the ocean, went to the beach, and this can also be very exhausting. Lars also went to the beach a couple of times, and we know that he also spent quite some time with some students who were having a football game on the beach, and he actually joined them and they played football together on the beach. On July 3rd, we know that Lars and his friends were visiting a bar also in Warna in Bulgaria, and they actually stayed very long in this bar, and they would eventually leave at 4 a.m. But before they would leave, they got into a little argument because Lars was, well, enjoying himself. In 2014, this was the time while the World Cup, the soccer World Cup was taking place, and here in Germany or in Europe in general, soccer is quite an event. I know in the US it's not that popular as far as I'm aware, but here in Europe it's quite a thing, and that's also why they went there and they had some public viewing and they just enjoyed to watch a football game, because Lars was also very interested in sports, but especially in soccer. And yeah, that's basically what they did. And during their stay, so during they were enjoying this football game, so during the public viewing event, Lars decided to, well, prank a couple of other guests of this bar. And he would eventually take these little flags that are sometimes on burgers, etc. And Lars decided to, well, switch the flags and try to trigger them to react to it, and just, I think he was also a little bit drunk and he just wanted to enjoy himself and didn't think too much of it. But there is actually one group that did not find this prank to be too funny. They actually started a fight with Lars, well, a verbal fight, and Lars allegedly also managed to will calm them down again because he managed to de-escalate the situation. Still, the friends decided to leave the bar at around 4 a.m. And this was when Lars' friends decided that they wanted to go to McDonald's. That's actually when Lars started to act a little strange, because he told his friends that he did not want to join them. So he said that he would go back to the hotel and wait for them there in their hotel room. So when his friends arrived at the hotel, they actually did not find Lars there. But first of all, his friends then thought maybe he was meeting up with a young woman and they just wanted to have some private time. And this may be the reason why Lars spontaneously decided not to go straight back to the hotel, straight back to his room, but rather decided to, well, have some fun, I don't know. But this is what they told police afterwards. So they did not worry too much because this seemingly made sense to them. And Lars would actually arrive at the hotel around noon on July 4th, but he actually continued telling his friends a very strange story. And in this story, he basically said that he got into a fight with other soccer fans. He said that these fans paid some Russians or Bulgarians to hurt Lars. And he claimed that these Russians or Bulgarians, he was not quite sure about that, actually hit him on the head so badly that now his eardrum was hurt. And he was having pain in his ear. And he also told the same story to his girlfriend the same day. And of course his girlfriend was especially scared for his well-being, and she told Lars to definitely go and see a doctor as soon as possible. But it was the weekend and Lars was in a foreign country. And he actually believed that it was not possible, seemingly, to get a doctor's appointment on the weekends in Bulgaria, which does not make too much sense because he definitely had some kind of emergency because his ear was hurting after he got into, well, a fight basically. Still, he said that he wanted to wait until Monday when he would be able to just go to a regular doctor. His friends did not mention anything about bruises or scars or anything that would lead to the conclusion that Lars was actually, well, participating or getting into a fight with someone, especially not with very angry Bulgarians or Russians. Because at July 7th, 2014, the friends had to check out of the hotel where they stayed. And this was also the day when they were supposed to fly back to Germany in the evening hours, better say at 8 p.m. But before they checked out of the hotel, a friend of Lars, and Lars himself obviously, went to see a local doctor. And this local doctor was allegedly very unfriendly towards Lars, and he stated that the doctor even made fun of him and was absolutely not taking him serious whatsoever. And he did not say much positive about this doctor, but mainly he stated that this doctor was very unfair and he was kind of rude towards him and made fun of him in a very evil manner, so laughing about him in a rather evil manner. And this doctor still gave him, for whatever reason, the advice to go to the local hospital, so to the St. Anna hospital. And this is also what Lars did basically. But before he went to the local hospital, so to the St. Anna hospital, he went back with his friend to the hotel because again they had to check out at 12 p.m. because at this point in time he knew he was having a ruptured eardrum, but he did not know if he was able to fly. All his friends left because Lars told them to do so. He did not want any of his friends to stay back with him, and he also told them that he was having an insurance and that this insurance will actually cover the costs if he had to go to the hospital, and that this insurance will also make sure that he will, well, be transported back to Germany from the hospital in Bulgaria so that he can be treated in a German hospital. At 8 p.m. the same day, so on July 7th, 2014, the friends of Lars would take their flight back to Germany and they would arrive at Hamburg a couple of hours later. Lars, on the other hand side, would, well, go to the hospital, to this St. Anna hospital in Warna. But in fact, the doctors at this St. Anna hospital told Lars that he wasn't supposed to stay in the hospital. So he was, well, they did not take him in as a patient. He wasn't able to get hospitalized because they told him that he would be able to fly, and this was nothing that needed to be, well, immediately fixed at his hospital. So they let him go again. And this was absolutely nothing Lars expected, because he thought that they would take him in as a patient and that he would stay the night at the hospital, and that the next day or maybe 2 days later, his insurance company back in Germany would organize a transportation for him to, well, get back to Germany. And he did not know where to go. And all the hotels in this area did not have free rooms left, because again, it was the holiday season here in Europe. Also, Lars was prescribed medication. He was prescribed Disappearance 500 for his ruptured eardrum. This is an antibiotic. So he told the taxi driver, who also drove him to this hospital, seemingly, he told him that he needed to go to a pharmacy. This taxi driver then drove him to the next pharmacy, but they did not have Disappearance 500. So he told the taxi driver that he needed to go to another pharmacy, which he eventually would do. So the taxi driver drove him to the next pharmacy, and they eventually ended up having Disappearance 500, which is also interesting about this Disappearance 500. So it's seemingly common to prescribe Disappearance 500 in Bulgaria, or maybe also in other Eastern European countries. But here in Germany, it's actually not even legal to prescribe Disappearance 500 because it has so many side effects. And Lars actually did not know too much of Disappearance 500, because what we also have to keep in mind, at this point in time, Lars did also not have a smartphone with him. And he was completely dependent on other people, because he did not have access to the internet on a very easy way, because he did not have a smartphone with him. As far as I'm aware, he did also not have a computer with him, so a laptop or a tablet or anything like that. He did only have a prepaid phone. So the reason was he left his smartphone behind and all his belongings like tablets, etc. behind back in Germany, because he did not want to worry about things that may be stolen from him. So he did not bring any too valuable goods with him. Still, Lars finally got his Disappearance 500, and now he had a problem that he did not know where to go. And that's also what he told the taxi driver, that he needed a place to stay for the night. And this taxi driver, well, gave him kind of a recommendation. And he told Lars that there is this hotel, which was very cheap, which was close to the airport, and which usually had free rooms, even during the main season in summer. And Lars, first of all, was probably kind of happy to find a solution for his problem, because he did not want to, well, spend the night sleeping on the street or anything like this. So he told the taxi driver to drive him to this hotel, and he would end up driving Lars to the Hotel Color, and this Hotel Color is a hotel, but it's not a good hotel, I'd say, and this means quite a bit. And it's also in an area where you as a tourist are not supposed to go, but still Lars did not know where else to go, so he checked into this Hotel Color. He gave the receptionist at the Hotel Color his credit card, and he actually copied his credit card, which is kind of strange, and Lars also thought of this to be strange, because this is still all on July 7th, 2014. And in the same night, at about 11 p.m, Lars would call his mother for the first time. And he asked her if she could, well, pay in some money for his prepaid phone, because he was seemingly running out of money. And his mother, of course, said that she could do so, and that's probably also what she did. Then Lars called his mother again, and he told her that he wanted his credit card to be blocked, because he told her that the receptionist of the Hotel Color was copying his credit card, and he did no longer feel safe, and thus he asked her to block it. Lars also insisted on still having enough cash with him, so even if he would have, well, if he would face a problem, he allegedly still had enough cash with him, so he wouldn't need his credit cards for now, and thus he would be okay with blocking it and then taking care of the entire thing as soon as he's back in Germany. Then something really strange happened when the entire story starts to get even stranger. This was when, in the night, in the very early morning hours of July 8th, 2014, Lars, so the next day, Lars would call his mother again. And this time he would call her between 2:30 a.m. and 3:30 a.m. And he would actually tell her that he was scared because allegedly a couple of men were following him and he had to run away from them and he was hiding somewhere. But he was no longer at the Hotel Color, so he was out on the streets of Bulgaria in the middle of the night at 3:06 a.m. So when he was out hiding from these men who were following him, he sent a text message to his mother Sandra and asked her if she knew what Zevzil 500 was. And he would even send her a second text message where he would basically ask the same question. And this shows us that he must have been very suspicious about this medication, about this antibiotic, because he was allegedly outside hiding from strange men following him. And he was in the middle of nowhere, probably in a very unsafe area of Bulgaria, of a foreign country, where he's probably never been before. And all he cares about is what this antibiotic actually is he was prescribed. So this, in my opinion, shows us that something was going horribly wrong after he took the first pill of Zevzil 500. And we know that Lars was taking probably 2 pills this evening. Then between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. Lars would seemingly disappear. We don't know what happened with Lars between 3 and 5 a.m. But what we know is that around 5 a.m. a taxi driver saw Lars standing on the streets and waving because he needed a ride. And this taxi driver gave Lars a ride and brought him and drove him to the airport. So Lars entered the airport at around 5 a.m. The taxi driver would tell police afterwards that Lars was seemingly having dilated pupils. When Lars was at the airport, he called his mother again and he was telling her that he had very low battery, and thus they did not talk for too long because, again, Lars did not have enough battery on his phone. And he definitely asked his mother if she could send him some money via Western Union. So the day before, Lars stated that he allegedly still had enough cash with him. What happened to this cash when he was at the airport? He did not tell his mother how much money he needed, but his mother decided to give him 500 euros. She also bought Lars a flight back, so a ticket for a flight back to Germany on July 8th, 2014. So on this day, he also arrived at the airport and is calling her now and asks for money via Western Union. And she also bought him a ticket for, a bus ticket, so that he could, if he was not able to fly back to Germany because of his ruptured eardrum, that he would still be able to get back to Germany by using a bus. And this is when Lars stated something really strange, because he told his mother they don't let him fly or drive back home. And this was something that immediately got my attention, because I know that people who suffer from schizophrenia are usually hearing voices. Well, not all schizophrenics do hear voices, but if schizophrenics do hear voices, it's often common for these voices to talk to these people who suffer from schizophrenia in the third person. So these voices refer to the people suffering from schizophrenia in the third person often. This could be a sign of a potential schizophrenic episode going on, or a psychotic episode in general going on. We don't know. Again, I'm not a doctor. But anyways, at 9 a.m., so Lars is still at the airport, and at 9 a.m. he has his doctor's appointment. So he goes to the doctor at the airport, and he enters his room at 9 a.m. and we don't know exactly what happened there, but Lars would eventually end up leaving. And first of all, the doctor told police that Lars wanted to just go to the toilet, but he would change his statement later on, state that another man entered this room, and as Lars saw this man, he started to freak out and ran away. And of course police wanted to know who this anonymous stranger was, and this doctor, so the doctor who works at the airport, Dr. Kostov, told police that first of all this was someone working for the airline, then it was someone working for the airport, and then finally it was someone he did not know at all. So he changed his statements a couple of times, and we don't know what is true. We don't know if Lars actually just stated that he needed to go to the toilet and that there never was a mysterious strange man entering the room who might have scared Lars so that he ran away. But at the majority of time, Dr. Kostov stated that there was some man entering the room, and this is when Lars started to freak out and ran away. What we know is that there's really strange footage showing Lars who leaves the doctor's practice and starts running out of the airport. And this is such a strange footage because we see how Lars starts running and he seemingly does not have a certain direction where he's running to. He just runs because he just wants to get away from, we don't know, a potential danger. And he also left behind all of his belongings. So he left his entire stuff at the doctor's practice, and we up to this day don't know where Lars ran. He ran out of the airport. Then he ran, just away, and he jumped over a fence. A fence that, separated the airport area from the area outside of the airport, obviously. And he jumped over this fence and was never seen again. Lars' mother, Sandra, actually reported Lars missing in Germany. And this is when also German police got involved. And they did not take this case very lightly, because they knew that something must be going on. We have a German man missing in a foreign country, where he's never been to before probably, where he does not speak the official language, and where he does not know anyone, and he just runs out of the doctor's practice. He's also injured, he has a ruptured eardrum, and he's running out of this doctor's practice, jumps over a fence and disappears into thin air seemingly. Of course police took this serious. But also German police, of course also Bulgarian police did search for Lars, but neither German nor Bulgarian police managed to find Lars up to this day. This has been 6 years ago, and no one has any answer to what happened to Lars Mittank. His mother Sandra is also very desperate, and of course she wants to know what is going on with her son. Of course. Actually even paid private investigators to find out more about the mysterious disappearance of her son Lars. They are still investigating. It's not a cold case by far. Police are still investigating, and private investigators are still investigating, and also his mother Sandra is still looking for her son. They're doing anything they can up to this day, 6 years after his disappearance. And this shows us that this is definitely not a cold case. But still, they were all unable to provide any answers. The deeper you get into the case of Lars Mittank, the more questions you get. And this drives me crazy, as it drives most people crazy, because I just don't know what happened. We all don't know, no one knows. The only person knowing what is going on is Lars. But of course, there are also theories going on. And the theory most people seemingly go with is that Lars had a psychotic outburst or a psychotic episode. We don't know about any cases of schizophrenia or other forms of psychosis in the family Mittank, so we cannot say if there had been a genetical predisposition maybe. We don't know, but what we know is that Lars definitely acted strange. And what we also know is that there is such a thing out there called a substance-induced psychosis. So it is possible, and also doctors and pharmacologists were of course interviewed also by police what they think about Cefzil 500, because again, at the time Lars disappeared, he was on Cefzil 500. And this medication, again, Cefzil 500 is not allowed in Germany, where Lars was originally from. Still, I did not find psychosis as a side effect of Cefzil 500 when I looked it up, but I only looked it up on the internet. I did not study medicine. I did not study pharmacology or anything like this. All I did was looking it up on the internet, and I could not find psychosis is a at least common side effect of Cefzil 500. This is nothing I could find. This does not mean that it cannot be a side effect of Cefzil 500. But there were seemingly doctors coming forward, also from Germany, but also from Bulgaria, and they said that it was possible for Cefzil 500 to trigger psychotic elements. If Cefzil 500 was taken with other drugs like alcohol, and we know that Lars did drink alcohol, but we do not know if Lars actually drank alcohol when he was also on Cefzil 500. I don't know if Lars was on any other drugs. It is possible because, again, they were in a foreign country in Bulgaria, in Warna, and they were partying basically all the time. We don't know if Lars was on any illegal drugs. I don't know about this. It's also possible that he did not know that he was even doing illegal drugs, that they were just, well, in his drinks or anything like this. This wouldn't be the first time something like this happened to tourists in Bulgaria, because people do not only try to drug women for obvious reasons, but they also often try to drug men because then they can rob them easier. But I could definitely imagine something like this going on. This would explain why Lars was seemingly never hungry, why he did barely eat. This would also explain why he started to act strange. This would also explain his dilated pupils, and this might also explain why he reacted in such a sensitive way, seemingly, towards Cefzil 500. But it is also possible that he may have had a genetic predisposition and just did not know. Due to this genetic predisposition, Cefzil 500 caused a psychotic outburst. This is possible, but I don't know how likely this is. And there's also the theory out there that Lars left voluntarily because he wanted to start a new life. But I absolutely don't believe this theory. Like, he also had a girlfriend back in Germany. He had his mother, with whom he seemingly had a very close bond, and he loved his work. So I actually doubt that he would, well, ran away from his life. We don't know about any major problems going on in his life. He was like this normal 28-year-old young man. There is also the theory out there that the man who allegedly entered the doctor's practice, who was seen by Dr. Kostov, was someone belonging to the people who had followed him and beaten him up the day prior to this, but I don't believe this as well. And there's also the theory that the man entering, there are a lot of theories about this man entering the airport's doctor's practice when Lars started to freak out. But again, we don't know who this man was. We don't know if this man even existed, because Dr. Kostov also stated that Lars just wanted to go to the toilet and then ran away, so without a strange man entering. We don't know. We actually have no idea. Let's go with the theory that Lars had a psychotic outburst, may have heard voices. This would explain why he stated that they don't let him drive or fly back home. This would explain this. This would also explain the irrational behavior. This would also explain why he was not hungry, seemingly. This might also explain his dilated pupils. I don't know, but still, this could explain a couple of things. But where is Lars now? If he was having schizophrenia or another form of psychosis, this does not explain why he disappeared into thin air. How is it possible no one has found him so far? Because especially if you're suffering from a mental disability, it's even harder for you, I think, to run off and start a new life, because police searched the area over and over again. How is it possible he was never found? And there are so many sightings of people looking eerily similar to Lars Mittank, but none of them had actually been Lars Mittank. And this is so strange that no one up to this day has any idea what happened to Lars. There are so many theories out there that I cannot even go into all of these theories. But please definitely let me know what you think in the comment section down below. I really hope you found this video to be interesting, and if you did, and if you don't want to miss out on future content like this, then please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and also hit the little notification bell, because I have said enough. I have said more than enough. I'm sitting here again for hours recording this. I will have to cut out a decent amount of these of the material I've recorded now, but still I said more than enough. I hope to see you next time, guys. Bye.